the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act of 2009 provides extended unemployment benefits, increases in food stamp benefits, a one-time payment to recipients of SSI and Social Security, and veterans receiving disability and pensions. To fund this, our government is borrowing from our children's future. The wealthiest 0.1% of the population removed huge sums from circulation due to the bailout, yet seem oblivious to how their actions have resulted in a sluggish economy. How do you intend to fix this problem?
I would make derivatives illegal, which is where most of that money was put, because they're completely off the books. They were only made legal by the lobbyists from the bankers and other wealthy financial interests that are stealing our country and the rest of the world blind. And until we put the majority of citizens in charge of the government, we cannot count on the president, no matter who it is. We can't count on the Congress and these elected officials who are all being bribed. If we don't change that system, we don't have any kind of a future except mass extinction, and it's well on its way. It's not like we've already passed the point of no return. We have to now deal with the horrible situation we are in, and this kind of silly solutions. You talked about the bail. The only people who got bailed out were the bankers. The American people didn't get bailed out. The middle class didn't get bailed out. They got wiped out.
Well, even if
we never got paid back.
Even if we did pass the Article 5 resolution,
yes,
what would you suggest as a way to bring the money from the banksters back into circulation?
I would listen to what Thomas Jefferson said, which is never, ever put the banks in charge of let private corporations run banks. Thomas Jefferson said, and it's online, anybody can look up Jefferson's banking quote, that if you put the private sector in charge of the banks, they will do more damage than any foreign invading army, and Jefferson was proven to be true. What I want to know is, why don't we run the banks ourselves?
Right, and if we did,
Bank of America owned by the people?
Well, I have a question about that. Do you want to decentralize the banking system, or actually, let's put it this way: fire the Fed? Would you start a new currency?
I would base our currency on hydrogen, which is something that because right now our currency is based on nothing. It's a fiat currency. We just print money. We're not just stealing money from our children. We're stealing. The dollar today isn't even worth 5 cents of what it was when I was in college in the 1970s, because the Fed secretly prints money, what they call monetizing the debt. And when you print money, you make it worthless. Right. So we're not just stealing from our children. We're stealing from the American people. And that's why our money's essentially worthless. And it's a road to hell is what we're on. And the only way this is going to be turned around is to get rid of the Fed. But you can't get rid of the Fed unless you put the majority of citizens in charge of this country. Okay. That's why if you don't solve that problem, none of the other problems you're raising, do you have even a glimmer of hope that they will ever be solved?
Well, listen, the way we fix that, again, is really taking government out of the picture. And there is a point that I agree to with Harry, and that is I believe in giving power back putting power back into the hands of the people. And this is the one that I've ranted on for some time, diminishing the abilities of the government and removing those pieces of legislation that bloated our government with power from I believe it was the 1930s up through the 1970s during that perpetual state of emergency. And then once we have that in place, we have people that are in charge, people that are actually directing what the legislation or what our government legislators are accomplishing in Washington, D.C. This never would have happened, and it wouldn't have been something that occurred had that legislative process been in place. And I agree with Eric. This is not something that we disagree on, because no one wanted to bail out most of these companies. And no one wanted to do a double dip into a bailout to get into these companies and banks. And the fact of the matter is, yes, one of the things that I would do is I would reorganize the entire Fed, and it would be a publicly owned entity where it is auditable by the American public. The other thing is I would remove our ties, or I would decentralize our ties to all of the major financial institutions around the world. If you look at the G9, the G20, the G8, these are all financial sector heads that go to these meetings. And it's not in the best interest of the people. And he's right. I do not believe in the financial sector leading or having control of our nation.
All right.
And that's exactly what we have right now.
Okay.